Good morning, Alamance Presbyterian Church. It's your Associate Pastor, Jess Regal. And this week, for my time of devotion, I wanted to share with you a practice that's been very important to me since I was very young. And it's become a spiritual practice. And especially in this strange Easter season that is also a season of pandemic, it's been a reminder of the power of friendship, of the power of compassion. It's been a means of joy for me, both in sharing and receiving it. And that practice is letter writing. When I was a child, I had a grandmother who instilled in me the need to write letters. She lived in a different state, and so I didn't get to see her very often. And when I was young, she made it very clear to me and to all of her grandchildren that if we did not write thank you notes for our birthday and Easter and Christmas gifts, then she would no longer give us those gifts. And though I don't think she ever followed through with her promise, she instilled in me a sense of the need to express my gratitude and to communicate with her, even though she was far away. And that practice was really important to me as I grew into an adult. And several years ago, I met a friend at a Presbyterian event who lived in New Mexico. And he suggested that we become pen pals. And so that practice of writing letters became a really important means of maintaining my friendship with Thomas, who lives in New Mexico. And it's always delightful to get letters from him. It's always delightful to send letters from him. And over the years, we've sent each other cards and postcards and even little gifts. And so utilizing the mailbox as a means of spreading joy has become an imperative part of my adult life, as well as an imperative part of how I was raised as a child. And some of you know how to do this well already. This is a stack of all of the Christmas cards that I received from you. And several times throughout the year, I'll revisit this stack of cards and I'll pray for the people and the families that sent them to me. And so it's not only a means of giving joy and of receiving joy, but it's also a reminder of how loved we are and an opportunity to express gratitude to God for the sharing of that love. And this has been especially meaningful to me during this time of pandemic. Not only have I gotten to write a lot of cards to you in the congregation, I've also received a lot of cards from friends who I don't necessarily usually hear from in a letter writing format. This, for example, which is a really cool Gwen Eiffel stamp, by the way. You can tell Loy writes letters regularly because she understands the power of a great stamp. But this is from my friend Loy, who I normally see pretty regularly because she lives just up the road in Burlington. But we can't see each other now, so she started writing me letters. I've also gotten some really cool postcards. This is from Death Valley in California. And this postcard I'm really excited to share with all of you because this is from my friend Jackie in Boston, who we all prayed for. And she wrote me a postcard to say, thank you so much for the prayers. I think they really helped in my recovery. So I get to share this postcard and its message with all of you who helped pray for Jackie, who was struggling with COVID-19. And then my favorite card that I've received during this pandemic came from my best friend Colin. And it's a Twin Peaks themed card, which many of you may not know what that is, and I don't know if that's a bad thing, but Twin Peaks was a very surreal TV show that Colin and I watched together, and for some reason at that moment in our lives it really spoke to both of us, and we loved it and we bonded over its weirdness. And he found this super groovy card that is Twin Peaks themed, and he sent it to me, and I happened to open it on Easter. And Colin and I send each other quotes a lot. So we'll send each other little poems or recipes or just kind of meaningful words that we haven't necessarily penned ourselves, but that we think might meet our friend where they are in the moment. And Colin used a quote from Twin Peaks in this card that I read on Easter. And it's from a very weird character named the Log Lady. And she says, "There is a sadness in this world, for we are ignorant of many things." Yes, we are ignorant of many beautiful things. Things like the truth. So sadness in our ignorance is very real. The tears are real. What is this thing called a tear? There are even tiny ducts, tear ducts, to produce these tears should the sadness occur. Then the day when the sadness comes, then we ask, will the sadness that makes me cry, will the sadness that makes me cry my heart out, will it ever end? The answer, of course, is yes. One day the sadness will end. And to open that card on Easter Sunday, when I felt alone and isolated and was really desperate for signs of resurrection, really helped me remember that I'm called to be an Easter person, that I'm called to live into hope, to live into the promise of resurrection, and that even when I don't feel that, God will find a way to intercede in my life to make that truth known. I love you, Alamance Presbyterian Church. I miss you, and I encourage you to spread joy through writing letters to one another during this time when we can't be physically present, but we can make our love known in really tangible ways. I'll see you next week.